lot of people ask me how I built my physique. Not just muscular, but that anime type of shape. The wide shoulders, the small waist, the upper chest popping, back flaring out. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't do every freaking exercise. I didn't do 25 exercises. I didn't train randomly. I focused on key few movements that actually change your silhouette. And if I had to rebuild my physique, this is exactly what I'll focus on. Before I get into the exercise, I need to put you guys on. No time wasted, let's run it. Now, I've been lifting for almost about 3 years, and your physique is pretty much built on the 80-20% rule, where 20% of your exercises will give you 80% of your visual results. Most people waste their years training chest and arms. I did that too. I loved training chest when I first started lifting, but chest alone doesn't make you aesthetic. What makes you look aesthetic is proportions. You need that width, you need that upper chest, you need that delts, you need that lats, you need that back thickness. That is what creates the anime illusion. So instead of training everything equally, I started prioritizing the muscles that actually change your frame. Now let's get into it. Sub to the channel, smash that subscribe button, let's go. If you want that anime width, this is a non-negotiable, lateral raises. When I first started lifting, as I said, I prioritized my chest. Foolish mistake of mine. What actually makes you look aesthetic is a wider frame, and side delts create that width. A wider shoulder automatically makes your waist look smaller, and obviously that creates that V-taper aesthetic illusion. The variation I actually used a lot was the seated lateral raises. The reason why I liked the seated lateral raises was because there was constant tension. I would do it slow, controlled, and straightforward. No ego lifting. I don't like going too heavy for side delts. It's a small muscle group. In my opinion, it responds better to volume rather than load. So smaller weights, more reps, slow and controlled. The rep range for me was typically around 10 to 12, sometimes higher, and I trained them frequently. So low-key spam them lateral raises, and once your side delt starts growing, the frame starts changing, and this is a #1 priority. And if you notice, we haven't even spoken about bench press yet, and that's freaking intentional. All right, next up is incline dumbbell press. At one point, I was spamming my inclines, and I can't lie, my upper chest actually became huge. But at that time, I wasn't prioritizing side delts, so I genuinely looked boxy. So I had a big chest and not enough width. What the incline dumbbell press I actually like about it is it pretty much gives you that shelf look. It builds that shelf chest. So you're gonna be building pillows. It also gives your chest that fuller look. If you really look at them fitness influencers, one thing you realize is how your chest look full as heck. If you're on this channel, you already know I'm a pull-up lover, and I'm gonna say something controversial. I believe you should ditch lat pull downs. Pull-ups are superior. You can't show me someone who does pull-ups consistently and doesn't have a good back. You just can't. Clean reps all the way up, all the way down. I would typically aim for around like 10 to 15. Once you can actually start hitting clean reps, so 12 to 15, clean, all the way up, all the way down, I'll tell you that you can actually progress to weighted pull-ups, because I personally feel like weighted calisthenics is a superior way of training, in my opinion, because it's pretty much like weightlifting and calisthenics had a baby. That baby was called weighted calisthenics, and obviously you already know that the lats build that V in the back. So one of the reasons why I actually really like training back is because one of my experiences, a girl actually saw my back on my story and she was like, oh, I actually want to feel your back. So therefore, you guys need to lock in on that back muscle, you get me? So the wider your lats, the more dramatic your silhouette becomes, because that's really where the illusion starts kicking in. It doesn't matter if you have a boxy frame, a wider back will always get you right. So if you're skipping pull-ups on your program, you are definitely skipping width. All right, now your next stop is chest supported rows. This is definitely something I slept on. The thickness is very, very important. So now you have that upper density coming from pull-ups, but you don't look as powerful. If you notice all these anime characters, they kind of have like that V taper with density in that mid back section. So you don't want to look flat. And as I said, anime physiques are not just wide, they are dense. And that's the reason why I actually like the chest supported rows, especially the single arm rows. Like there's a machine that has like the single arms. I would usually just use like the single arm rows. It lets me bias my lats properly and I focus on the contraction. Remove the momentum, remove the ego, slow and controlled reps, time under tension. That's what's gonna build your thickness. And once the back has the width and density, the taper looks clean. Definitely. So you should do your rows to actually build the thickness. Now, interestingly enough, my shoulders actually blow up when I actually started training front delts more. And I didn't even spam overhead presses like that. What I did was pike push-ups. So when I first started training for my handstand push-ups, my shoulders just actually started blowing up. I think it was the constant volume. Like I would typically train the handstand push-ups most times, like every single day for around 10 to 15 minutes. And that compound effect just actually started just making my front delts grow. Cannot forget, we can't forget your rear delts. Rear delts is what actually gives that 3D look. I remember when I told you guys that I actually had a girl touch my back. One of the reasons why the rear delts is so important was because they contribute to your back aesthetics. And obviously, when you have an aesthetic back, it kind of allows a lady to be visualizing. That's what I'm going to be saying. However, so you need to definitely lock in on your rear delts because that is very, very essential. So from the back, from the side, your rear delts will get you right. They also actually improve your posture and rear delt fly variations, controlled reps. If you want your shoulders to have that 3-dimensional look, as I said, we're building an anime physique. Next up, your arms. All right, so dips literally transformed my triceps. Weighted dips especially. I don't know, I do have a thing for weighted movements that actually are calisthenics or body weight as well. Third of your arm is actually your triceps. I'm not saying don't train your biceps. We're going to get into that. However, your tricep makes up most of your arms. So if you want big looking arms, you need to train the triceps hard. The only con with triceps is if your upper chest isn't as developed, it can easily overtrain the lower chest. And that's really not ideal for aesthetics. So when I do dips, I will try and bias it mainly for my triceps. So more uprights is also going to be a controlled descent, and there would be like an elbow focus of 90 degrees. Typically do is I would kind of like superset my triceps and my biceps. So it could be any curl, or if you can find like a bicep curl machine that can allow you maintain tension at the top of the movement and the lower part of the movement as well, you'd be amazing. But I would pretty much just do curls and that would get you okay. The pump from the arms, combining the triceps and the biceps, it is elite. It's definitely something you should. I never understood why gym bros actually would train arms on a specific day up until I actually started doing that combo. And I gotta lie, it's mad still. All right, I know you guys actually thought I would forget this, but you need to train your legs. Please train your legs. A balanced physique will also come from your legs as well. When you train your legs, you become more proportional. When you're more proportional, it creates the illusion. And also when you train your legs, you freaking make testosterone. Testosterone then feeds off every other single muscle group and actually makes it look bigger. I know. Training legs is a pain in your bum. Make sure you stretch at the end. If you always feel useless after you train your legs, all you need to do is just stretch at the end. I'll probably like, if you need me to cover a video on that, like the stretches I do, but I can't relate to 90% of guys who actually complain that, oh, when I train legs, I can't climb up the stairs, stuff like that. Maybe immediately after training, I can relate to that, but the next day, I don't have any problem for the next couple of days. And that's simply because I dialed in on my recovery. So that's definitely something, but like, I'm gonna literally give you the source right now. Just stretch immediately after you're done training your legs. You will thank me and you will thank yourself the next couple of days, and you actually not have legs as a pain in your ass. Now here's the thing, exercise does matter, but the structure matters as well. Now the split I run, because I needed to put you guys on fully. I'm not gatekeeping over here. We don't do that. Now the split I run is quite slightly different, and I personally believe that you should create a split that really fits you. It is a push focus upper body day. So I run a upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body when I'm in the gym typically. So my first upper body day is more push focus. So upper body day with a little bit of back, because obviously we're training for aesthetic. I also have realized that I wanted to get my pull-ups up a little bit more. Actually, we then have our legs. Now the legs, obviously, as I said, please train your legs. Train your legs. I can't emphasize this enough. Please train your legs. I personally feel like if you're jacked in your upper body, it simply means you're putting in the work. Why don't you just give your legs that training as well? Now the next thing would then be a pull focus upper body. Now when I do I would also incorporate a little bit of upper chest and some shoulders as well, because I know that my side delts aren't really targeted much in my calisthenics movements. Then obviously I would repeat my leg one more time. Now, if I'm not in the gym, which recently I've realized that I don't actually like leaving my house for some weird reason, but when I'm not in the gym, what I would do is I'll train the full body. With the full body routine, I'm actually starting to like that a little bit more, because maybe it's because of the variety in every single thing, and I could also cook while I'm actually training, especially when I'm home. I could also do a little bit of editing. So for me, training home has actually started becoming low-key a banger, and because I understand training in the gym, I apply the same consistency and intensity when I'm also training home. If you need me to drop a video on that, down in the comments. You would never regret training with the 80-20% rule, understanding that you don't need to always be doing every single accessory movement. You need to focus on the compound movements. You realize that I'm trying to give you guys the results as fast as possible with as little effort as possible. And if I really understood this over the last few years, I would say I would have gotten my physique way quicker. If you build your training around these movements consistently, your physique will change. Not because they're magic, but because they prioritize shape. One thing I know is that a lot of you guys want that speed. I think that's something that I wish I also had. And if I genuinely wanted to move stupidly fast, what I would have done while I first started lifting was I would have found someone who actually had the results I wanted, and I would have pretty much showed me every single thing, because the amount of time I would have cut myself. I'm 3 years into lifting, getting my physique, but if I had known what I knew right now, like while I started lifting in my first year, I probably would have gotten my gains stupidly quick. So if you're actually serious about getting speed, if you're serious about accelerating your progress and getting that anime physique as quick as possible and creating that environment where it will be just so easy for you to get the body that you've always really wanted, I'll tell you to book a call with the link in the description. Your boy would actually really love to hear from you. I would love to actually help you as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how you build an anime physique. Stay blessed, stay locked in, and go be great, ladies and gentlemen. Go be great, my guys.